talk about everything sports. It's the Sideline Report on your hometown radio station, WPKY, The Tiger. All righty, it's that time. And Todd, as you said, we're about on time. We're actually a little early. It's 9:02.
It's a good thing I got here early today.
Yeah, look, I'm using a different microphone. Don't know where to talk. How are you?
Good morning. A lot of sports going on, and we got a busy show ahead of us.
We do, and we've got a special guest. We've got a couple special guests coming in, and we've got one in studio, one via the telephone. So take it away.
Well, we're going to start out with Dwight Meeks from Youth Incorporated and talk a little youth sports. And a little bit later on in the hour, Al Wilman from the Paducah Sun will be here, on the phone, to talk to us about some All-A Classic baseball, since the Tigers play Carlisle County next Friday in the All-A Classic sectional. We'll get to talk to Al about the Carlisle County Comets and the Carlisle County Tigers because, unlike me, he's actually seen both.
That's right. And it's always good to have that perspective. When you've seen them, you can give us a good idea as to what we can expect. So I'm looking forward to that. And, of course, what else?
Wrestling. Yes, we have our top 5 favorite wrestling tag teams of all time.
And I want to invite everybody. I've already had a few. If you'd like to play along with that, text us, and I'm going to give the number really slow. Somebody said, you give that number too fast. 270, of course, everybody knows that, 963-9038. You can text us your 5 favorite tag team wrestlers.
What was that number again?
963-9038. Well, good morning, everybody. Glad to have you here, Sir Dwight.
Well,
have you been knighted?
Not knighted, but I remember the last time, I think I left here, and you was trying to think of my nickname, and then you come up with Boxhead. Hey, that's Boxhead or something like that. Is that correct?
I think somebody texted me real quick and said,
was that it?
I think that's what it was. But,
okay.
It was said very lovingly, I promise.
Sure, normally is.
Well, a lot going on for Youth Incorporated. It's a busy time with baseball, softball, and t-ball all coming up.
That's correct.
Got the schedules ready to go in the paper for a lot of the leagues on Saturday. I think April 30th is when the league starts, so just a busy time.
Oh, Todd, it is. And actually, we start up the 30th, which would not be next week, but the following Monday.
Yeah.
Yes. And it just seems like all of a sudden it's here. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like we quit. We were working on the fields, and next thing you know is now we're in a rush. And we've redone one of our the settle field, which we're kind of proud of. And Ray and them are actually out there working now, and it's kind of a push to get everything. Of course, the weather's not been very nice.
Very friendly, has it?
No, it's
hasn't
not.
shown up yet.
No, I was telling Todd this morning I jumped out with shorts and jumped back in real fast.
You rethought that one, didn't
you? Yes.
Yeah.
But anyway, we'll have everything ready to go. Teams have been chosen, picked, practices going on. We're still getting a few sponsors for our shirts and stuff like that. But we'll be ready by next month, the 30th.
That's good. Do we still need some sponsors? If anybody out there wants to sponsor a team?
Why not?
Yeah, anybody wants to sponsor a team. I think we like 2 more for our Youth Incorporated League. Then we go into T-ball. If you're interested in sponsoring, call Bobby Joe Thatcher or call myself at 270-625-3114. 270-625-3114. And if you're interested in sponsoring, and we'd love for you to. And but Todd, we've got this year, we're down a little bit, with some teams, but that's comes and goes.
Well, and there'd been several years where we've kind of been building, so I mean, it just...
Yeah, and that's just how it goes. But we have, with the boys, with 8U, we have 5 teams from Princeton. Now, we still play Lyon County, Dawson, Crittenden, and we've added Trigg County. So we're not playing, just those 5 teams are not playing each other.
Yeah,
okay.
We had a few Trigg County teams last year, but this year, I think every league, Trigg County has come in full bore. So that's, and as a matter of fact, what we always call the CCDL before, the Caldwell County, Crittenden County, Dawson Springs, Lyon County League, is now the Lakes Area Baseball and Softball League.
Right.
which is basically the Labs League. LABS.
It works. That works pretty well. Right. The Labs League.
Yeah. We have 10 for 10U boys. We have 3 teams. For the 12U boys, it's 3 teams also, and of course they'll be traveling both those. And for our girls, 8U girls is 3 teams. 10U girls is 3 teams, and the 12U girls is 2 teams. And so, like I said, we'll be traveling. I don't know how much they travel. Do you?
It just depends on the schedule sometimes, right. and how many teams from each community are in each league.
Yeah.
And I think this year the leagues are playing 10-game regular season schedules.
I believe so.
In the past, we always tried to play 12, but it became an issue because you either had to start earlier or you had to go later, and no one wants to go past the end of June.
Right.
Well, you could fill those dates, but what would happen is there wouldn't be any dates left to make up games because everybody's field would be in use Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday. So if you missed a couple of games, well, then you were really up against it trying to make those up late, and we'd end up sometimes with teams only playing 9 or 10 games. So I think those in charge finally decided that, better to play a 10-game schedule and at least have a chance to make those games up at the end of the season and not be just so squashed, I guess, for lack of a better term, trying to get everything in at the end of the season.
That's right. But I don't know if you've been out. Well, I know you have, but I'm just talking to the viewers. If you haven't been out to the ballpark, we have made some changes, and for the best, don't you think, Todd?
Absolutely. I think the ballpark looks incredible now compared to 7 or 8 years ago. The fields all look better. Of course, there's been a lot of work done on the VFW ballpark, and that's not just a Youth Incorporated thing. The school and the baseball team put a lot of effort into that.
Yeah, hats off to those parents that jumped in there.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. But Youth Incorporated has done a lot of work on the concession stand, on the other building out there, on the fields. The fencing around the ballpark looks a whole lot better than, the electric wire.
Right. Our parking.
Yes.
We resurfaced our parking. We will be adding some more blacktopping probably next month when the blacktop plant opens up. Rogers Group has been very generous and going to do some blacktopping, not for free, but we'll be paying for a little bit of it, but not as much.
Right, a pretty big break.
Yes, they are really being nice to us. And we have some plans down the road. Of course, you have to every year. You have to think outside the box.
Well, and you can't do everything all at once.
And you can't. If we had a big budget budget, if we had a lot of money. So if anybody's got a lot of money out there and wants to give Youth Incorporated, my number again.
Give it slow now.
But no, I think we've come a long way. We've got some new members on our board now who are excited, and we just look forward to another good baseball, football, and basketball season coming up.
But the park is looking good. I mean, I think everyone involved has even bigger and better plans to keep improving. I mean, I think we realize that everything's not exactly where we want it.
Right.
But like you said, when you're working on a pretty thin margin monetarily, it's kind of hard to get everything done all at once. But I think eventually down the road we'd like to have a few more trees out there for shade and just to make the place look a little better and, maybe do some other things to spruce it up and just, we'd really like for it to be a park that everybody's proud of and everybody wants to come. If your kid doesn't play, still come and hang out and watch the games and, and have some other things, maybe a walking trail or something, that could be done.
There's been talks around about a new playground out there or something like that, Of course, Kyle was telling me, well, if we put a new playground out there, most of our kids want to be on the playground.
Right.
But,
Yeah, I was just going to say, too, if you haven't been out there lately and, when the weather starts getting a little nicer, come on out to a ball game, whether it's one of the high school teams playing or even one of the Youth Incorporated. There's something that baseball and softball does, I think, for all of us. It kind of binds us together. It takes us back. You can talk about all the movies that express it, but it's the truth. Everybody grew up, it seems, going to a game or listening to a game, whether it was pro or whatever, but there's just something unique, I think, and special about baseball or softball that kind of brings us all together. And, you know, when you got a beautiful day and a beautiful ballpark to go to, just go out and enjoy it. Grab you some popcorn and kick back.
Well, I remember when I was little, a lot of us would go out there and just make up games. You know, we'd
I did
choose
too, yeah.
sides and we'd play games. And even when you didn't have a game out there, if your buddies were playing, you were out there watching and hanging out at the ballpark. And
sure, and I remember when I was older, we would go out there and play in the settle field, softball, but left-handed. You know, if we were right-handed, we hit left-handed.
That's right.
You know, and then, of course, when the tennis courts were there, we had many marathon late-night wiffle ball games in the tennis courts.
I remember some of those,
Yeah,
too.
and you were a part of those. So, I mean, but not only that, it's just it's a good family atmosphere. You know, the facility's great, and on a warm day, there's no better place than to spend at the ballpark for a couple hours.
And it's a great time right now to go out there and, you know, want to mention the Lady Tigers softball team because they did a lot of work on their field, painting the dugouts and making it look better. And, you know,
they have a lot of plans ahead, too.
Yeah,
they do.
And that's what we want to see. We want to see everybody, you know, it's not Youth Incorporated's ballpark or it's not, you know, the county's ballpark. It's everybody's ballpark. And
exactly.
It's there to be used. And, of course, right now we've got two really good high school teams to go watch.
Yeah.
Both of them at home today, by the way, against Madisonville.
Yeah.
The baseball team and softball team. And the thing right now is the ballpark's really hopping when you have those home games because you have the youth leagues out there practicing on the other fields. And then the high school team is playing games, so it's a good time to be out there.
Yeah, the town is out there. That's the place to be in the afternoons is at the ballpark. And looking so forward, you know, we're going to broadcast our first home softball game. Looking forward to being on the softball side of things. And then tomorrow we'll come back and do the baseball game. So it's just fun. And want to encourage everybody to come out and check out a ball game.
And the Lady Tigers playing Madisonville, the defending state champions. Played them a one-run game over there Tuesday.
Yeah.
Madisonville's ranked third in the state right now. Talk about baseball. The Tigers are ranked 19th in the state in one poll. And, of course, they fell over at Madisonville the other night in a close 4-2 game. So, you know, they'll be looking for a little redemption tonight. But, man, if there was ever a good time to go to the ballpark to see a couple of good games, they'll be out there today.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And, you know, it's going to be a little cool. It's going to be a little cloudy. It's going to be a little windy.
Well, we ought to be used to that by now.
Yeah, and I'm just saying, just bundle up and enjoy. And sometimes, you know, when the sun's not beating down on you, it's enjoyable to see a game. Yeah, you know, if you dress appropriately, you can have a good time.
You know, Ty, you was talking about the wiffle ball. Last year, I took my grandsons out to the fall league. And when we wasn't playing, we were still out there every night just about. And they had more fun just running around the ballpark. And since we've closed some of our parking down, I watched a wiffle ball game out there. While the regular games was going on, some kids got a wiffle ball bat. And I tell you, I think I had more enjoyment watching that. Just a pick-me-up wiffle ball game out there. I tell you, I was just sitting there watching that.
That's what it's all about, man.
Yeah, had a lot of fun.
And then, you know, those wiffle ball games translate usually later on once they hit the real diamond. You know, you learn skills playing wiffle ball that help you on the regular diamond as well.
Right.
So it all works together.
Well, you want kids out there enjoying the ballpark so that they'll stay in the program and they'll continue to play baseball and softball. And, you know, that helps the high school teams down the road.
Yeah.
It certainly does. It's going to be a great year out at the ballpark, I know. And kudos to the board, you know, the schools, the parents, everybody that's involved because it can't get done without everybody working together.
That's correct.
And so just get out and enjoy a great game out there this year.
One thing I would like to mention with the youth leagues getting ready to start is, you know, masks for infielders, especially the younger kids. We talked about that some last year. I know a lot of parents are doing that now. Of course, when we all played, if somebody would have said you have to wear a mask, we'd all said you're crazy, right?
Exactly.
I mean,
exactly.
Being honest, but the way the games are played now, I think.
Well, we had wooden bats back then too.
True.
And we have the aluminum bats now.
Things are a little bit hotter. The balls seem a little hotter. The bats are hotter. You know.
But I really feel like if you start kids out as 8-year-olds or 7-year-olds. Putting the mask on, it just becomes part of the uniform. You know, it's like wearing a helmet in football or whatever. It's just part of it. Where you can't go to the high school baseball team right now and tell those guys to wear a mask because they've never done it.
Exactly.
You know, and I don't know down the road. I guarantee you, there's been some kids been out there playing before. Just took one off the chin, or one in the eye, and said, I'm done with this game. If he had had a mask, he might have still been playing.
It happened to my dad. I was talking to my dad there. My dad was a great pitcher up in the Evansville area when he was a kid. Struck out, he'd have games. He struck out 15 or so. Moved to Florida. He took one in the face. Ow. Moved to Florida. Never played again. Yeah. He said, man, I regret that. But it happens.
I think it even helps maybe with fundamentals when you're trying to teach younger kids how to field a ground ball,
Once in a while you get a nasty hop.
It's difficult not to want to turn your head or move out of the way, but if you have that protection in front of you, you can stand there and go ahead. And if it hits you in the face, it's not going to feel great, but there's a big difference between that jar and actually getting your nose busted or an eye cut or anything like that. So, I'm a big proponent of the mask. Maybe some people aren't, and I guess that's fine. Everybody can make up their own mind, but had always wanted the league to kind of mandate that, but there is a cost involved, and I think some of us were afraid that if it was mandated that maybe you would keep some kids from playing because they couldn't afford to buy those. But, I would like at some point to see the league, whether you have to pay for those masks yourself or what, come up with a way to make sure everybody has one, or at least everybody that wants one has one.
Right. Yeah. Well, we've seen it in ladies softball. They pretty much mandated that, and all our girls have them now. And of course, we saw some pretty serious injury before that, without that, and it prompted that. So, good thing we have that.
Yeah, and you never want to see somebody get hurt. Sports are supposed to be fun. Yes, injuries do occur, but you don't want to just put somebody in danger if they don't have to be.
Exactly. That's
right. Even in Major League Baseball, we've seen pitchers. I think at some point, even those guys are going to have to do something about the pitchers because they're just sitting there. When they let go of the ball, they're 50 feet from home plate, and there's a great big strong guy up there with a bat.
That's right.
Hitting the ball back at them.
Well, I can tell you, and Dwight Dwight's an old softball player. I played a couple years in the league out here. You played on my team, and I pitched. And I can tell you, those last few seasons I played, by the time I released the ball, I was trying to get back there to the shortstop because, they had hot bats and balls, and a little guy could get up there 120 pounds, and just grunt it out and rip it right out, and it's coming at you fast.
Oh, yeah.
And so I like the idea. You need all the protection you can get.
I'm glad you brought that up, Todd, and maybe some people are listening today that are kind of on the fence of what to do, and like Todd said, we really recommend it. I know our grandson's playing with masks.
Yeah. Sure. And, yeah, it's just time. I think it's just we're in a different age and era, and it's just it's a good practice.
Well, and I think you can pick those up for maybe $30 or $35.
Yeah. And it's it's saving an eye, a nose, teeth.
Yeah. $30 for a mask or $6,000 in dental work.
That's correct.
So
that's right.
It's pretty easy, But yeah, I understand it. There is a cost factor for some folks, so maybe that'll get done one of these days. Yeah. So,
hope so.
All right.
But anyway, we're getting close to the season. Anything else?
I just come out and see us. If you have any problems, don't come see me. But hopefully there'll be no problems. But seriously, if you do see some problems, I do want to mention that it is a no smoking ballpark, and I appreciate if you. Do not smoke out there, and if somebody comes up to you and tells you there's no smoking, please don't get mad at us. We do have
signs are clearly posted.
Signs are there. Todd and myself put those signs up.
Okay.
Sometimes you forget, and we'll just ask you to please put it out.
Extinguish.
Yes. Nothing personal, but it is no smoking ballpark. Other than that, I'm telling you, like I said, I think we made some.
Who's running the leagues this year?
Bobby Joe Thatcher.
Bobby Joe,
is our park manager.
Director, I guess.
Director.
Okay.
Whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
And then Ray Mitchell takes care of the fields and stuff like that.
And Ray's been out there a while, doing a fantastic job.
Yes, he has.
Yeah.
And,
those fields look good. Like I said, the park is always clean. Fencing has been replaced in a lot of areas that needed it. Again, there are a lot of things that we would all like to do. We started talking about the settle field when we started, and we would love for that field to eventually be kind of the showcase of the smaller parks. And, just got a lot of work to do to get everything to where it needs to be.
When you think of baseball, I always just think of the settled field.
Right.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, you definitely do.
The old green wooden fence around it.
Yeah, it's kind of an anchor. Really, I mean, but awesome job. Thank you, Dwight.
Well,
and
appreciate you having me.
Thank everybody. Yes, sir. So, where do you want to go now? You're welcome to stick around and talk sports with us, sir.
I've got some
Don't let us kick you out.
Do at the ballpark. So,
well, if you know some of your favorite wrestling tag teams, we could get those out there real quick.
Oh, gosh.
You ready to transition to
I'm
that?
ready to
Let's
go
do
there.
that. Okay. And Dave Smith has texted in, too. Are you done? You're not going to do wrestling? Okay.
I've watched a lot of wrestling. Tojo
Yamamoto.
Yamamoto,
he
yeah.
was one of my favorites. Back when I remember seeing him at the Butler Gym.
I think he came. Yeah, I was going to say he came to Butler, didn't he?
Years ago. But
we need some more wrestling. We need another wrestler. I know Joe Gray.
Joe Gray. We went to some of the wrestling matches. Rick Morgan and myself.
Exactly.
Went to those wrestling and had a good time.
The last one down here, they packed the house, man. They
Mm-hmm.
packed it.
They did.
That's been a good while. But
gentlemen, have a good day.
Hey, thank you, Dwight.
We'll
That's
see.
Dwight Meeks, and he's on the board at Youth Incorporated. And we certainly appreciate his contributions, Todd,
Absolutely.
and all the entire board and everyone. Again, we can't just say enough about the improvements at our ballpark.
Yeah, those people put in a lot of work, and it's all volunteer work.
Exactly.
And so say thank you to them if you see them out. And again, if you have any suggestions about the ballpark, any of us that hang out there would be glad to hear them. And, again, if you'd like to donate money, Youth Incorporated would be glad to accept that,
of course. No doubt about it. Well, that's great. Sounds like it's going to be a great year out there with all the leagues and adding Trigg County. That's great.
And hopefully the weather will eventually warm up.
Goodness gracious. I'm telling you. Somebody was telling me about the year we didn't have a summer. And I'm talking a long time ago, 1860.
Oh.
But we had frost in June and frost in August, from what I understand.
Wow.
So, before the Civil War. So, been a while. All right, so we're going to do our wrestlers?
Yeah, I'm ready. Let's go.
Okay. We do have one text, so you got a minute to text if you want to get involved. You can 270-963-9038, and I'll go first since you probably have a little bit more personal thought. I needed help on this one, so I'm going to go with my number 5.
Okay.
The Outlaws, Dusty Rhodes.
Oh wow.
And Dick Slater, is that right? I can't remember.
Yeah, you went old school on that one.
Yeah, that's the Outlaws.
Okay.
Of course, I love Dusty. He was on. He was my number 1 last week, so I do remember the Outlaws. The Outlaws, brother.
You don't want anybody to drop a bionic elbow on you.
Yeah, that's right. So the Outlaws were my number 5. Dave Smith, he didn't really label his, but we'll go through his list here in a second. Again, you've got time to send us your favorite tag teams, 963-9038.
Well, I really cheated on my list because I not only have a tie, but I've got an honorable mention.
Oh, that's all right. That's good.
Couldn't break.
It's your show, man, so you can do what you want.
My honorable mention goes to the Convertible Blondes.
Oh, wow. I think I kind of remember them.
If you remember
Convertible
International
Blondes.
Championship Wrestling from back in the day, and that was run by
ICW.
Angelo Poffo, who was the father, of course, Randy
Macho Man Savage.
Leapin' Lanny Poffo.
Leapin' Lanny. That's
based out of Lexington, Kentucky.
I didn't know that.
Yes. The Convertible Blondes, the only reason I remember that is
Blondes.
because there were 3 guys in the tag team.
Okay.
And you never knew which 2 were going to wrestle.
Okay.
That was sort of the Fabulous Freebirds thing.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah, that sounds familiar to that model.
2 guys
the Freebirds
would wrestle,
model.
and one guy would be like the manager, interferer outside the ring. But I always thought it was such a cool name, the Convertible Blondes, and you've got 3 guys who are. And if you remember, Pistol Pez Watley was actually in the group at one time, and he went on to be.
You're way over my head now, dude.
Well, a jobber for a year or 2 in WWE and WCW. He, the guy that came out and.
Oh, yeah.
And wrestled one of the big stars and got beat on a weekly basis. But, hey, it was good work.
You had to have those guys that never won.
Pistol Pez Watley.
Pistol Pez. I love it.
So that was my honorable mention.
You got another one. Number 5.
Number 5, I got a tie at number 5. The New Age Outlaws, Road Dogg Jesse James, and Billy Gunn. Best entrance ever. That was part of D-Generation X. And the Road Warriors / Legion of Doom while they were in WWE. Hawk and Animal. And, of course, Joe Laurinaitis was one of those guys. And, of course, his son played linebacker. His son James was a linebacker at Ohio State and later with the St. Louis Rams.
Wow.
So that's the Road Warriors and the New Age Outlaws at number 5.
Who said these guys aren't athletes and spawn athletes? So, yeah. That's awesome. That's pretty good so far. This is one that I had to kind of look up. I wanted to, and this is something that I didn't know about. So I thought I would.
Okay.
And you probably know about it.
It's great, by the way.
It well, I had to because it's been too long. The Kentuckians.
Wow, I don't remember them.
Grizzly Smith and Luke Brown. I have no idea. I just wanted to get a Kentucky flair in here, and I'm trying to see what era it is. I'm trying to see if I can find any information on the era. They were. I'm trying to see who they were affiliated with. Doesn't say. It just says they were professional wrestlers. So it doesn't see. I can't find any affiliation. But I said I'm going to get a Kentucky flair to this.
Yeah, that's good.
So that's what it is. The Kentuckians. My number.
I have to admit, you got me on that one.
The next ones you'll remember though. I think.
Okay, my number 4. Former Southeastern Tag Team Champions, the Fabulous Ones.
And then
Stan Lane, Steve Kern.
Stan Lane.
Like I said, they were Mid-South Coliseum regulars. They did go on later. Steve Kern was later in WWE with a horrible gimmick. I think his name was Skinner, and he would spit tobacco on people, and it was so far away from the Fabulous Ones that you didn't even know who he was. And I think Stan Lane joined another famous tag team, but I can't remember, maybe the Midnight Express or somebody like that. Later on, he was, sort of a tag on to that. But
okay.
But as the Fabulous Ones, they were the big tag team in the South back.
In
the
day.
They
they were. And there's mention here. I've just looked him up real quick. The Continental Wrestling Association, CWA.
Wow, I didn't even know about that one.
And I've never heard of that. And that was part of the Jim Crockett Promotions.
And anybody that's friends with me on Facebook, I posted a little video last night that had actual wrestling featuring the Fabs and the Road Warriors.
That was cool.
So
I did. That was
with
neat.
a little Lance Russell added in on
I loved Lance Russell, but my heart is with Gordon Solie. I don't know if you ever heard of Gordon. Yeah, Gordon Solie. Gordon Solie. Okay, here's one that I kind of pulled out, and I kind of remember, but then I was like, man, is that really real? Harlem Heat. You remember those guys?
Yeah, I remember Harlem Heat. Yeah.
That's my number 2, Harlem Heat. And, they had cool outfits from what I remember. They were kind of golden and red and something like that. Don't really know who the guys are, but I don't know if I can find them on here. Booker T and Stevie Ray, that's right. Booker T and Stevie Ray. And so Harlem Heat.
They were big WCW guys.
WCWs, yeah. So anyway, that's my number 2, Harlem Heat.
Oh, I thought that was number 3. I think that's number 3.
Oh, I skipped one. I'm going to have to move them up.
We'll have to edit the show later.
No, we'll just have to move them up. But I can move them up because, like I said, this is not.
All right. So my number 3 is the only tag team to hold the WWE, the WWF World,
He's
the
an expert.
ECW, the WCW, NWA, TNA, and IWGP tag team titles.
My gosh, they're the best of all time.
Pretty much, the Dudley Boys, Devon and Bubba Ray, and known as Team 3D while they were in TNA.
Wow.
They were in everything.
Way over my head, dude. Way over my head.
The last time I knew, they were 30-something time tag team world champs.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. The Dudley Boys.
The Dudley Boys.
Awesome. Okay, well, I'm going to move this up since I skipped them, but they deserve the number 2 spot. The Moondogs.
Yes.
Now, they figure they might made of your list. I don't know.
I remember Rex
Randy
and
Colley.
Spot.
Yeah.
Weren't there some
Rex,
other guys in there?
Yeah, Rex, Spot, and King and Spite.
Yeah.
Yeah. Moondog, Spike. Yeah. So, yeah. That's. I had them down at number 4, but they moved up to number 2 because I skipped them.
I skipped them. That's okay.
Yep.
That's a good number 2.
Yep, that's a good number 2. You'll love my number 1, I promise you.
Wow, can't wait. Okay, my number 2, and maybe this one will surprise some people, maybe not. Beer Money.
Oh my gosh, that
Cowboy
like
James Storm and Bobby Roode, and
Beer Money.
They were like the best tag team in TNA.
I love the name, man. I never heard of them. I swear I haven't. TNA.
The Cowboy was a beer drinker, so there's the beer part.
Okay.
Bobby Roode at the time was doing this gimmick where he was kind of this rich, snotty guy. He was the money guy. So they got together and they became Beer Money.
Love it. I love it, man.
And
that is so good.
Bobby Roode right now, I think, is on Raw in WWE, and I'm not sure what happened to James Storm, but why the WWE doesn't bring them in and put together beer money again is beyond me.
Yeah, I mean, come on. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you? That's awesome.
So that's my number 2.
Beer money. Okay, my number 1. And I don't know if they ever had a name or not, but I love the name. Nikolai Volkov and Iron Sheik.
Oh, yeah.
But did they have a tag team name, or was it just Nikolai Volkov and the Iron Sheik?
I think it was just
those guys together. Yeah,
I think so. That's a good one, though.
Nikolai Volkov and the
Do you follow the Iron Sheik on Twitter?
No, I do not.
You need
He's
to do
still
that.
on there. I will do
Yes,
that.
he is on Twitter.
The Iron Sheik. Yeah, and so that's my number 1 because I do definitely remember those guys, and I just remember thinking Nikolai Volkov was so cool. You know, he'd come out in that, the Russian, bear hat. And he had the CCCP shirt. It was pretty cool.
Well, I mean, and then they were the anti-American.
Oh, they were, man. They were, back in the Cold War days, man. They were yeah.
Okay, so my number 1, these guys were actual wrestlers,
Real wrestlers.
Yes. The Steiner brothers. Starred at the University of Michigan.
Okay.
Invented a lot of things. I thought, I'd never seen a Steiner recliner until I saw these guys.
The Steiner
I'd never seen a Frankensteiner before I saw these guys. Now it's called a Hurricane Rana, and I don't know if there's a difference between a Frankensteiner and a Hurricane Rana.
Hurricane Rana.
Yeah, off the top buckle.
This is a move, yeah, off the top buckle, yeah.
Maybe it's a Frankensteiner if a Steiner does it, and it's a Hurricane Rana if somebody else does it. I'm not sure. I don't know the difference, but to me, it's a Frankensteiner.
I love it. So that's your number 1.
That's my number 1, the Steiner brothers. Then I got a story that we were actually going to get to see the Steiner brothers one time. I'd never seen them, and about 10 years ago, TNA was having their Slammiversary event in Nashville at the old
Municipal?
Yes, Municipal. Yeah. And my brother Chris and Chris George and I went down there, and the Steiner brothers were going to wrestle, and I can't remember who they were going to wrestle, but anyway, the Steiner brothers.
Did they not show?
Were
there no shows?
About a week before this happened, Scott Steiner was wrestling in Puerto Rico, took a kick to the throat, was legitimately injured.
Wow.
Had to go into an induced coma to save his life, and obviously couldn't travel after that, couldn't make the show. So,
no, I would say not. Wow.
So they actually mentioned on the TV show that Thursday that he wouldn't be there. He'd been injured, but promised that Rick Steiner would have, a special guest. They'd still wrestle and go on. When the special guest came out, it was Animal from Road Warriors who wrestled with Rick Steiner. So it was
that was pretty cool. Yeah,
I didn't get to see the Steiners that day, but I did get to
see
half
the Steiners,
Sting and Kurt Angle and all those guys, and it was a great show. And I think we were about 5 rows back, and it was awesome.
That's pretty awesome.
But I still didn't get to see the Steiners. So
hey, I'm dropping stuff.
Oh,
that's all right. That is got to see half the Steiners.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna throw a name out here.
Okay.
Jimmy Valiant.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
And he had a tag team with maybe his brother.
He did. There was a Johnny Valiant and Jerry Valiant. And I don't know. They were all, that's a wrestling name, Valiant.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, that's one of those that was been around a long time.
Yeah, the Handsome Jimmy Valiant.
Handsome Jimmy, yeah. Here's Dave Smith. And, Dave, thanks for playing. Here we go. The Road Warriors, the Hart Foundation, Rock and Roll Express, Demolition, and of course the Fabulous Freebirds.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good list.
Yeah,
that's a pretty good list. Dave's been on it.
Had several people comment to me on social
media
Dave. About our list, and of course Aaron McClung says Bushwhackers.
Oh yeah, definitely
Bushwhackers.
Aaron. Yeah.
And Dave Forrester says he actually got to see the Fabulous Ones at the Mid-South Coliseum.
Oh wow.
And also lists the Road Warriors, D-Generation X, the New Age Outlaws, and Demolition among his top.
I don't know if I set my phone down or not to see if anybody's texted me on my phone, my personal phone. I've got one text. We'll see. I don't know if who's playing or not. Yep. Uh-oh. This is from Will Brown. No. Okay, I'm not going to say that one. I don't know what he was referring to. I like what he said, but I don't know what he's referring to. We talked about being somewhere, so he said there's a place that we should be. So I might share it later. Maybe he'll elaborate. So elaborate on what you meant by that, Will. And I could share it, but I just don't know what. And context to share it. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, we've mentioned the New Age Outlaws a lot.
Yeah.
Jesse James and Billy Gunn, and they were in WWE, and I think maybe in WCW for a little while. Can't remember for sure. Maybe a different name. It's hard to keep it all straight sometimes.
Right. I can.
But I just remember at one time when they were like really hot in the WWE, WCW tried to do this, or maybe it's TNA. One of them did, I think, where they did the Old Age Outlaws.
The Old Age Outlaws.
With some older wrestlers. They called them the Old Age Outlaws.
Okay.
The only bad thing is the announcers kept messing up and calling them the New Age Outlaws so many times that WWE actually sued them to quit saying New Age Outlaws.
That's crazy. So it's the announcer's fault, and it usually is.
Once or twice you might be able to get away with a mistake, but I think they just kept. But when you hear that, you think New Age Outlaws because that was so catchy that.
Oh yeah.
I think they tricked themselves into getting themselves in a little trouble.
Do you remember the Wild Samoans?
Yeah.
Afa and Sika?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, this was fun. Fabulous Freebirds, Michael P.S. Hayes, Terry Bam Bam Gordy. I'm Terry Gordy. Yeah. Buddy Roberts, Jimmy Garvin. God, there's some cool names back there.
That's one that if my list had been just a little bit longer would probably have been on it.
The Four Horsemen.
Yeah. See, that's more of a stable. That's like D-Generation X.
Yeah.
I think of that more as a stable than a tag team.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah, right. I think you're probably right. Hollywood Blondes.
I don't remember that one.
Steve Austin and Brian Pillman.
When they were in WCW, absolutely.
Yeah. So, and then, of course...
was he stunning Steve Austin then, or was that before or after that?
And here's some more names. The J-Tex Corporation. This is one of those things. Listen to these names now. These are classic names. Terry Funk. Remember the Funk Brothers? Dick Slater. The Great Muta.
Yeah.
The Dragon Master. Buzz Sawyer.
Wow.
I mean, all these names just sort of, you could go on and on. All these names just conjure up so many memories.
Well, and if you actually go on the internet and look up all-time favorite tag teams, professional wrestling, the one that always is toward the top is Edge and Christian. And I don't know if a lot of people remember those from WWE, but those guys were funny and they were really good wrestlers.
You know the affiliations, everything. I think I remembered the name of the kid that came along in Memphis. Barry Windham. Does that ring a bell?
Yeah, he was sort of in that Four Horsemen kind of group too.
He came as this young kid. They brought him in. He was just young, like right out of high school, and he was a good guy. Then, of course, he went bad and all this other stuff. But he was kind of, and I think he became a champion at some point. But I remember when that guy came up. So,
and nobody's going to mention, what were they? The Mega Powers, I believe.
Mega Powers.
Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage.
Yeah. That's exactly right. And Dusty Rhodes was part of the Superpowers. Him and Nikita Koloff. Remember Nikita Koloff? So here's somebody texting in here. So man, we can go on and on. It's fun. It is fun stuff. We need to do
just a couple of points I'd like to make. First of all, my list is from parts unknown. My list is hailing from parts unknown, and Bruno Sammartino died yesterday.
Yeah, he did. Yes.
At age 82.
He sure did. I saw that.
He wasn't a tag team wrestler, but one of the greatest singles wrestlers ever, if you remember the WWE / WWF back in the day.
Yeah.
He was one of those guys, I think he held the heavyweight title for like 3 or 4 years running one time.
Yeah.
And
Bruno
they'd have all the territories, and he'd go to each territory and defend the belt. And the big thing was trying to take the belt from the guy that had held it so long.
Yeah.
You don't see that anymore.
No.
Anymore, it's hard to keep up, and I don't watch.
Everybody's got a belt, don't they?
I don't watch as much as I used to.
Yeah.
For some reason, it's just not as fun as back in the day. But it seems like if you try to watch it, you never know who has a belt, and everybody's got a belt, and it's just tough to keep up with.
I've got a funny story.
Okay.
This is from Will Brown. He said, I said the place to be was at the ballpark. He said, no, disagree. The place to be is Frank Costanza's pool room. Oh. And then he says, also the Moondogs were at Butler Gym, threw a shampoo bottle at Brad Knight.
Oh, wow.
And then Tojo Yamamoto chased them across the lawn. So there's a wonderful wrestling memory right here in Princeton.
Yeah, there were a lot of wrestlers here.
Yeah, there were. I remember seeing, and between matches, they'd be outside walking on. I remember I was riding my bike. I wasn't in there for one of them. This is in their early 80s. I was riding my bike up there around Butler, and then between matches, they'd be recuperating outside the Butler, walking around or
Well, one of the things that would kind of destroy, the fantasy, I guess, for you is when you'd see the two tag teams that are, supposed to meet in a death match show up in the same car.
Yeah, they're hanging. They should drive up together. Yeah, and or they're eating.
We're gonna kill you, and then who's driving?
I remember one of the events I took my son to, and he turned to me and he goes, "This isn't real, is it, Dad?" I said, "Of course it's real."
Real is relative, though.
Exactly. Of course it is. Yeah,
the outcomes are predetermined.
But
they're still taking some bumps.
They're taking some bumps, and it's entertainment, and it's wonderful entertainment. It's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk, and that's what I think sports does for us. And we've talked about this before. It kind of, the world's a stressful place, but man, if you. When it's all going to heck in a handbasket, you can turn on a game or a wrestling match and kind of zone out and be somewhere else just for a little while. So that's what's so great about it.
Sports is supposed to be fun.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always try to, impress upon people, that it's, that you don't play work, you play sports. That's why they call it playing.
That's exactly. I love it. Great attitude. We'll have Al Wilman of the Paducah Sun calling in here in just a few minutes. What do you got? Anything else on your agenda? Of course, we got the games this afternoon. Tennis teams in Henderson County today at 5, I think, aren't they?
Yes.
Yeah, and they're smoking right along.
And I think there's a home match Friday, maybe.
I think that's right. I've got the schedule right here, and yes, Webster County at home. They'll take to the courts at 4:30. So.
Well, just while we're waiting on Al Wilman to give us a call to, join us. Speaking of the Paducah Sun, we had a couple of players that were honored this week as the Paducah Sun Players of the Week.
2 Tigers.
Shane Burns and Mashi Glover.
Congratulations.
And both had really big weeks. Shane threw a no-hitter against Lyon County in the All-A Classic semifinals, and Mashi hit 3 home runs in one game at Livingston Central and just had a monster second region All-A Classic last week. So
definitely.
Congratulations to them, and getting a little publicity in the Paducah Sun.
Yeah, great weeks, and it's always fun to rise to the occasion when you're out there on the mound or out there in the field or in the batter's box and do that great thing, whether it's knocking in runs. And what I've noticed this year on both sides, both teams seem to be getting pretty timely hitting for the most part.
That's a lot of baseball and softball.
Of course it is. That might be Mr. Al there. Let's take a quick break, and we will come back. And you're listening to the Sideline Report on WPKY, The Tiger.
La Potosina in Princeton and Marion is the best place to experience delicious, authentic Mexican cuisine with an extensive menu that has something for everyone. Choose from local favorites like fajitas, chimichangas, burritos, and Maria's favorite with rice, grilled onions, and peppers, chicken, shrimp, steak, or a combination topped with La Potosina's mouth-watering cheese sauce. That's La Potosina with 2 locations to serve you in Princeton and Marion. La Potosina Mexican Restaurant. Here's a reminder from your Princeton Electric Plant Board. Meter tampering is dangerous. Tampering with an electric meter is not only dangerous, it is dishonest and against the law. Stealing electricity by tampering with an electric meter may result in your arrest and can even risk your life. Tampering with meters results in increased utility bills that everyone has to pay. If you see anyone tampering with an electric meter, call the Princeton Electric Plant Board right away at 270-365-2031. Princeton Electric Plant Board, Princeton's #1 energy source.
At first glance, you may think we are only here to sell and service your vehicle, but did you know that Trice Hughes Incorporated also wants to buy your vehicle? You heard right. If you're currently trying to sell your vehicle, stop by for a fast and free appraisal. A clean title in hand will have you leaving with a check in just a matter of minutes. Still making payments on your vehicle? That's no problem either. We can guide you in that process also. Contact a salesperson today at 270-365-5522 or stop in Trice Hughes Incorporated today, 111 Highway 91 North in Princeton.
Welcome back to the Sideline Report on WPKY, The Tiger. And joining us now is Al Wilman from the Paducah Sun. Al, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thanks for being with us. And first of all, congratulations. I understand there is going to be a new addition to the Wilman family later this year.
Yeah. My wife and I are expecting our first baby boy due in October.
That's awesome.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Well, we wanted to bring you on to maybe talk a little All-A Classic baseball today. As we mentioned when we came on the show, you have us at a disadvantage because you've actually seen both Carlisle County and Caldwell County's baseball teams this year. So how do you think those compare?
Well, I think it's going to be an interesting matchup, depending on who gets the ball for Caldwell. If it's Shane Burns, the sky's the limit, as you guys out there in Princeton well know. The KHSA actually just released its stats leaders this morning, the first chunk of the year, and Shane Burns, I don't know how many of you guys expected it. I did, certainly. Hasn't allowed an earned run yet this season in 15 games. So 500 runs. We get the KHSA in strikeouts with 61. So he's clearly the number one. And if he goes again in that all-A game, Caldwell's going to have the high chance of success. But that's not to say that Carlisle's batting order is anything to kind of scoff at either. Guys like Truman Davis, who's had some really consistent hitting of the ball this year, hitting 379. Davin McGee 378. Ian Fry's hitting 412. So there are guys who can put the bat on the ball for Carlisle County, to be certain, this year. So it should be a good matchup.
Yeah, last year's game was a good game, until late. The Tigers kind of put that game away and got really good pitching from Ty Ramey at Carlisle County last year. So, it's a rematch. The teams are somewhat familiar with one another after that. But the one thing that struck me even last year, I didn't think Carlisle County quite had the pitching overall that the Tigers did, and I thought that ultimately ended up being kind of the difference in that game.
Yeah, and I agree with that. And this year it's coming in where it seems like Caldwell's got the pitching, but Carlisle, well, it's got here and there, Corbin Hayden, that's, the eighth starter, who's basically the Shane Burns on the other side, his ERA of 0.74. But he's no Shane Burns. And once you get into that bullpen, it gets kind of dicey. So I think that's what, the first team to go to the bullpen is going to have to really be creative and see what they can do.
Well, that game has been set for Friday, April 27th at 7 o'clock at the VFW ballpark, and we're talking with Al Wilman of the Paducah Sun, and we got to see a couple of Caldwell Countyans in the Paducah Sun this week. We were just talking before you came on that Shane Burns and Mashi Glover were the players of the week. Yeah.
Shane, again, as his stats can kind of back it up, he had his no-hitter in the second region All-A tournament this past week. 15 strikeouts. As a pitcher, Shane Burns is a very special player, but he's even better of a kid. In my interactions with him and the things that I've seen. So for him to be a kind of the player of the week this week with his resume in the last 7 days, to me, was a no-brainer.
Al, and he also, he carries a pretty good bat up there when he's standing in the box too. I mean, he went. How many RBI? He had at least 5 RBIs, I think. During that stretch, he had 3.
I can't remember with 3 RBIs.
3 RBIs,
in the last 7 games. But he had a couple of games where he had multiple hits.
Yeah, and timely hits at that.
Yeah. He's a guy who can get it done both ways on the ball.
Oh, absolutely.
And he's a outstanding first baseman too.
Hey, Al, I want to have a question. Let's go back to the Carlisle lineup compared to the Caldwell County lineup. Noticed it seems to me that, and I have not seen Carlisle County play. You mentioned they're sluggers, but do they have guys up and down the lineup? If they get into the 7, 8, 9 slots, are those guys that can drive in runs as well? Because it seems like to me that the Tigers pretty much have a balanced lineup at every position as far as hitting is concerned.
Yeah. For the most part, I would say that Carlisle County has guys up and down the order who can find ways to get on base, whether it be by walks or by hitting, and who can move along the base path. Guys who are not afraid to steal. So, they've got some creativity in that offense too, where they can get the job done, and not just by putting a bat on the ball.
Well, I think the Tigers need to realize that even though they won 10-0 last year down there, that I'm sure Carlisle County will be ready for this rematch. And one thing that has bitten the Tigers a couple of times this year is their defense, which has been a little surprising. But the Tigers made 4 or 5 errors over at Madisonville the other night, gave up 4 unearned runs, and lost 4-2 to what I think is a better Madisonville team than it's been. But the Tigers have to clean up some of those defensive problems, or Carlisle County could give them a lot of issues.
Yeah, and that's one of those things too. Playing clean, in that respect, Carlisle County had an issue with errors through the All-A tournament, but I saw them kind of clean things up from the semifinals to the championship game. So, the potential is there to kind of limit mental mistakes, but those definitely are something that, I'm looking out for.
Yeah, and that championship game down there was kind of a wild affair, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It was like
Indeed.
11
Yeah,
to
that
10.
was. Yeah, 3 runs in the first. It was just a back and forth kind of a deal, all game long.
Well, it seems to me like in the first region, maybe those smaller schools, that All-A Classic is a bigger deal to them than sometimes it seems like it is in the second region. Maybe it's just because there are more smaller schools in the first region, or maybe there are so many bigger schools that the smaller schools just kind of accept that All-A Classic and really look forward to that. Is that something you've picked up on?
I've started to notice that this year, being my first year here in the area, that the All-A Classic is a big deal in any sport, that has it. So it's, the small schools really take it seriously because, and I don't know, and I'm not going to put words in their mouth as far as being intimidated by bigger schools because I don't think that's the case. But when you've got teams that are as talented as some of these big schools, like McCracken County and Paducah-Tillman are the two that I can think of off the top of my head. They're like huge powerhouses, in the big schools. So you've got to, to contend with those teams in the region, you've got to play perfect baseball. And in All-A, you can play your game and still have success.
Well, like I said, it just seems like there are more teams in the first region that kind of fall into that All-A Classic. And even in the second region, we're going to lose one next year because Caldwell County is not going to be eligible. We've talked a lot on our show here about Caldwell County just barely missing the cut and will be in the Kentucky 2A championship in basketball next year. But that's not to say in a couple of years that Caldwell County might not be right back in the All-A Classic.
Yeah, I found that interesting. And people have been asking me questions about this for the last couple of weeks, why Caldwell County is moving up, what's going on with that. And so, to have them out of the All-A in the second region opens up, I think, the entire second region. Because Caldwell, and also losing Shane Burns this year, kind of to carry that pitching staff. But look at Briar Riley; he's another outstanding player for you guys. But yeah, losing Caldwell in the second region is going to be opening things wide open, I think, in baseball and softball.
Yeah, especially we talked about softball that Caldwell County is mostly a junior or younger team.
Yeah.
And so next year was really going to be the year for them to maybe make a run. Of course, they might still make a run this year.
They certainly might. Al, let's switch to softball just for a second and talk about Mashi and your choice for her. Of course, the 3 home runs in one game, put together several really nice games. And how do you like the Lady Tiger softball team?
Sure. Softball, I don't have too much of an opportunity to take a look at that. It was Ed Marlowe's choice to make her the player of the week.
Okay.
He's kind of our softball guy at the Sun. But it was an outstanding choice. Looking at her resume and looking at some of those other top players in the week, to her, again, it seemed like a very easy choice to make.
Sure.
And a very correct choice to make.
I guess you'll make the trip down Friday night?
I will, yep.
Good deal.
Well, and before we let you go, what's your favorite professional wrestling tag team? Do you have any great
my
tag
favorite. I knew you were going to ask me that when you were, the other day when we were talking. And I'm having a really hard time figuring out a good choice. Because I haven't followed wrestling in a very long time. So, I'm looking at like days like the even sort of before my time, but I knew who they were, like the Four Horsemen and guys like that.
There you go.
I think that's going to be my favorite. It's got to be.
Awesome.
Arn Anderson and those guys, that's going to be the choice, I think.
Yeah, that's a good one. I spent a week working on my top 5, and it ended up with like 7 tag teams. So.
Well, Al, we certainly appreciate your work with the Paducah Sun and joining us anytime here on the Sideline Report. We're on every Thursday. Todd will be in touch with you. We're certainly glad that I think this is your first appearance with us on the show.
It is,
but we'd love to have you from time to time, and I'll let you and Todd work that out. But we certainly thank you for your input, and we love seeing you over here in Caldwell County and around Western Kentucky covering our sports. You do a good job.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and thanks again for having me on. I really had a good time.
Yeah, thanks, Al. We appreciate it.
Okay. Have a great day, man. Thanks for calling in.
Hey, you too, guys.
All right, bye-bye. All right, that's Al Wilman, and then always good to have Al. We see him around at the sports venues here in Western Kentucky, and likes
good scouting report on Carlisle County. Right
exactly, I think so. And Todd, going to that, it has the potential to be a heck of a ball game. Of course, giving Caldwell County, in my mind, the edge for being at home at their home park, and probably the pitching and just probably the overall lineup. I would say would give us an edge.
Well, and the thing the Tigers need to realize is that they're sort of in a different situation than they were last year, in the fact that everybody's kind of shooting for them now.
Oh yeah, that's right.
I think we saw that Tuesday over at Madisonville. The Tigers kind of had their number for 3 or 4 years, and of course Caldwell County still has, I think it's 7 straight 7th district championships.
Right.
Well, before Caldwell County did all that, Madisonville owned the district every year.
Yeah.
And Madisonville, I'm sure, doesn't like taking a backseat to Caldwell County on the baseball field or any place. And, I think Madisonville was probably revved up and ready to go for that game Tuesday night.
And you can't make 4 errors.
Right.
I mean, if you have 4 errors in a game, more than likely the scoreboard's not going to tilt in your favor.
You give up 3 unearned runs in the first inning, and that's tough to come back from, even though
it is.
Shane was pitching, and he struck out 12, but you give up 4 unearned runs, and it's just tough to come back from.
I mean, and baseball is a game of statistics, and you can look at the statistics, and it shows you that if you have a game like that, 3 unearned runs, especially in the first inning, it gives you maybe more of a chance. You got more baseball to play,
right?
But it's still hard to overcome that.
But Madisonville, I'm sure, was waiting on that game.
Yeah.
They probably had that circled on their schedule.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I'm sure Carlisle County, once they won the All-A First Region, looked at Caldwell County like, yeah, we remember what happened last year, and we're not going to let that happen again this year. So I'm sure it will be a fired-up bunch of Comets that
I'm sure they will
come to Princeton. Again, that's next Friday, April 27th, 7 o'clock.
That's kind of neat, kind of a nighttime, prime time under the lights at the ballpark, and that's going to be a fun event. And we want everybody to come out, wear your blue and gold, and cheer the Tigers on to the All-A Classic.
That's a sectional game, and the winner of that goes to state.
That's right.
And of course, the Tigers went to state last year and had what was a magical run up until just the very end.
Yeah.
Won that first round game in 8 innings. Won the second round game, the semifinals, in 8 innings. Went 10 innings with Louisville Holy Cross in the championship, and just came up just a little short, 5-3 in the final. But I know the Tigers really want to get back and take care of business in that championship. But there's a lot of steps along the way before you get there.
There are, but we need to play good defense, airless baseball.
Yes.
And play our game. If we can do that, I like our chances.
Just have to execute.
Have to execute on the field. And, baseball's a tough game. Sometimes you can't control the hops.
Right.
Sometimes you don't get the call, and we've seen that.
Well, and that's something else I was going to point. If you look at it the other way, on Tuesday, the loss at Madisonville, over the course of a season where you're playing 30 or 35 games, you're going to throw a stinker or 2 in there.
Yeah.
It's just going to happen. I mean, you don't win every day in baseball.
It happens at all levels.
Yeah, you don't have your ace every day in baseball. You don't have your number 2 or number 3 every day. Sometimes you have to go deep into that pen, and you hope that in days where you have to pitch somebody and you give up a few runs, that maybe the offense picks it up that day and you win it that way. But
or your Gold Glove fielder doesn't have it.
Right. I mean,
it just happens. It's just baseball. That's what makes it so fun and so great. Coming to mind, Bill Buckner. I mean, he's
the play at first in the World Series.
In the World Series,
He could make that play in his sleep, and that one day
he lifted up. Yeah. He took his eye off of it or something, lifted up. I mean, the great Bill Buckner, forever. And really that one play extended the series and probably cost him the entire championship. I mean, there's no doubt about it. But it's but that's baseball.
Yeah. The Tigers trying to get back to the All-A Classic State Tournament. Again, the sectional is Friday, April 27th, 7 o'clock at the VFW. Carlisle County 7-4 on the season. The Tigers right now are 12-3. And again, we've still got a week before that. Now, the Lady Tigers are already in the state tournament.
Right.
It's a little different.
They didn't have to play a sectional.
All 16 region champions go to state. The state tournament for softball is April 28th and 29th. Again, just a little over a week away.
Yep.
In Owensboro at Jack Fisher Park. We do know the Lady Tigers will play Russellville at 10:30 on that Saturday in pool play. They'll play the 7th region champion at 2 o'clock. And, you look at Region 7 and get a little scared sometimes because that's a Louisville region. But the All-A teams up there are the really small schools, so I think whoever wins that will be a team that the Lady Tigers will be very competitive with. I think they'll be very competitive with Russellville. At 5:30, they'll play Lexington Christian. Lexington Christian, at least from what I can tell, would be the best of the 3 pool play games for Caldwell County. So the Lady Tigers will have games at 10:30, 2, and 5:30 on that Saturday, the 28th. The top 2 teams in each pool advance to the championship bracket the next day, which is single elimination. You'll be down to 8 teams starting the day. Everybody plays at 9 o'clock. The semifinals are right after that. The championship is right after that. So it gets going pretty quick on that Sunday.
It starts moving, doesn't it? But everybody plays at 9 o'clock.
Yeah, the 8 teams that advance from pool play. So you'll basically cut the field in half on Saturday.
On Saturday, yeah. But a long day on Saturday because there's at least 3 games.
Oh, yeah. 10:30 in the morning is the first game against Russellville. Then, like I said, 2 o'clock against whoever comes out of the 7th region. And then 5:30 against Lexington Christian.
Wow. Fantastic.
It'll be a busy day in Owensboro.
Planning on trying to make the trip up there and bringing that. And then hopefully we'll be making a trip to Lexington as well.
Let's hope so, yeah.
So, boy, it's fun. It's good stuff. It's fun stuff.
It was fun last year going to the All-A State for baseball, like I said, up until the very end there. But, again, that's kind of baseball. A call or two went the wrong way and some things happened. And the Tigers certainly had chances to win the game. Holy Cross had chances to win the game. And it went 10 innings, so, it was anybody's ball game.
And then, of course, down the line shot, and that was it.
Oh, yeah, that still kind of irritates a lot of us, but what can you do?
What can you do? Yeah.
It looked fair. It was called foul, and that's how it went.
All right, let's see if we have any last-minute texts here. Well, we're right here at the time, Todd. What else do we have in summary?
Well, a couple other things real quick. Emma Talley tees off at 3:39 Central Time this afternoon in the L.A. Open. Her tee time tomorrow morning in the second round will be 10:30 our time. Golf Channel coverage, I think, starts at 5:30 today our time. So 5:30, 6 o'clock, somewhere thereabouts. So maybe
on the Golf Channel.
Yeah, Emma will get some tee time. Or some TV time.
TV time, yeah. She'll definitely get a tea time.
Yeah, she'll go off at number 1 today and then off at number 10 on Friday in the second round. So didn't make the cut last week, but those things happen.
Oh, yeah. It's a long season.
Yeah. Sometimes just 1 or 2 holes, a bogey here, a double bogey there, and that's the difference between playing the weekend and not playing the weekend. But she's in Los Angeles, and good luck to her.
What is that? That's the, what do we call that? The I don't know what the term is. It's got the initials to it.
The L.A. Open.
L.A. There we go. That'll work.
And then there were a lot of initials.
Yeah, and I butchered that on my sports news this morning and the time and everything. I finally threw up my hands and go, well, I don't really need to know what time our time is, so I'll try to work it out later on. Tell us, we want to mention Jake Lewis. He was down at Atlanta at the championships this past weekend and had a 5th place.
Yeah, 5th place the first day.
And then he crashed out on Sunday, but he's okay. He wears all that good equipment. So, and then he'll be back in action, I think, in Virginia, championships in Virginia on May 4th and 5th. So they'll take a couple weeks off, and he'll be back at the championships of Virginia on May 4th and 5th.
And want to squeeze in a little Kentucky basketball news. Yep. The roster keeps turning over. I thought maybe John Calipari was finished recruiting for next season, but apparently he's not. Wilman Gabriel is the latest to say he's putting his name in the draft, but he's not going to hire an agent. So if you're keeping score at home, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, Knox, and Diallo are gone. They're for sure not coming back. P.J. Washington and Wilman Gabriel have put their names in the draft, but they could return.
Yeah.
They could. They're not going to hire an agent, so they could be back. Ty Wynyard and Sasha Kalea-Jones have both announced that they will be transferring, so they are gone. And big rumor in Lexington is that Quade Green is going to leave, go back to Philadelphia, and transfer to LaSalle.
Wow.
So that would be another loss for the team.
Poster will be totally different next year.
However, if you look at the recruiting class coming in, there's some talk that Ashton Hagans, the big point guard, will reclassify. I think right now he's in the 2019 class. Everyone seems to think he's going to reclassify to 2018, would join the team for next year. And if that happens, that would give Calipari and UK five-star recruits coming in. So maybe that's some of the reasons some of these other guys are not sticking around.
They're looking and going, oh, man,
But that's a lot of turnover. I mean, you've got 3 that are gone to the NBA draft for sure, 2 that are transferring for sure, 2 more that are in the draft but could still pull out, 1 more that maybe is transferring. So, man, that's a lot of roster turnover for a basketball team.
Certainly is. Cardinals and Cubs were weathered out the other night.
Yes.
Yeah, because of this lovely weather we're having.
But the Cardinals did manage a win on Tuesday.
Yeah.
What day is it? Thursday.
Tuesday. Yeah.
Tuesday night.
They had a win Tuesday, and then the Nashville Predators win last night over the Avalanche. So they lead.
Preds up 3-1 in that series.
So looking good.
Expected them to win it in 4 or 5 games anyway. I mean, you knew the Avalanche were really fired up for that Game 3 and were able to get one out in Denver, but Predators looked pretty good for 2 periods last night. The Avalanche made a late charge,
surge, But that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Smashville is happy.
Smashville.
Yeah, Smashville is happy.
I have to admit, that's one that I missed on because I never thought the NHL would take hold in Nashville. And
I think it's just Nashville, and they just like to party, and it's a big party. I just think that's what it's all about. I think there's a hockey game going on. Okay.
That they made the finals last year before losing to Pittsburgh, and the number 1 seed going into this year's playoffs. So
a lot of people expect them back there in the Stanley Cup Finals, so we'll see. It ain't over till it's over.
Yeah, and hockey's
it's
weird
tricky.
animal sometimes.
It's a weird animal. Yeah. So
I think that's everything. Just again, baseball and softball are both at home today for Caldwell County, both playing Madisonville. Those are both big 7th District games. It probably will be a little chilly at game time, but nothing we can't cope with. So
come on
out.
If you
have a chance, go to the ballpark and watch, the Tigers and Lady Tigers, and with the Madisonville team, see some good action.
It definitely so, and we will bring you the softball game here on WPKY. The Tiger this afternoon will be on shortly, right after the newscast at 5 o'clock. Bob Hayes with the call for you this afternoon, and we'll be live at the ballpark and streaming online, WPKYonline.com. And the broadcast schedule tomorrow is the game at home, the baseball game versus Union County. And first pitch is today at 5:30.
Yes.
And maybe the same tomorrow. I'm not sure. Maybe 6 o'clock. I don't know.
I think it's 5:30.
I think it's 5:30. I'll have to check here. I've got the old schedule here. Let's check it out.
I would rather say 5:30 and it be 6.
It is. It's 5:30.
Than say 6 and it be 5:30.
No, you're right. So it's 5:30 first pitch tomorrow as well. So join us for that if you cannot make it to the ballpark. But tomorrow's supposed to be a better day weather-wise.
Yes.
So be a nice day to go out and a good Friday afternoon, evening thing to do. So
hopefully spring will show up and stay at some point.
No kidding. I'm about ready. Well, Todd's been a great show.
Wow, busy show today.
Yeah, very busy show. Thanks to Al Wilman and Dwight Meeks, who is here as well. And you're going to have some special guests lined up for us as we move forward.
Hopefully we're able to share some good information and get everybody, in the knowledge in sports and ready to go for the rest of the week. Yeah. We encourage you, if you have any comments, questions, concerns, to get in touch with Todd. Throw your contact information out there. Twitter is @ToddGriffin100, and my email is ToddGriffin, all one word, @TimesLeader, all one word.net. That's ToddGriffin @TimesLeader.net. There you go. You can get in touch with Todd. You can get in touch with me here at WPKY. Again, text at 963-9038, and love to hear from you. And we see us out and about. Also stop and say hello as well. And we'll need a new top 5 idea for next week. Yeah, so if you got an idea that you'd like to see us work through a top 5, send it to us. We might powwow here after the show and try to get one as well. So you may hurry up with that one. But first of all, we'd like to thank everyone who tunes in to us on a weekly basis. We certainly appreciate the support. We hear lots of things out there in the public about our show, and we certainly try to entertain you at times and inform you is our top priority. So Todd does a fantastic job. Be sure you pick up your editions of the Times Leader on Wednesday and Saturdays for the best sports coverage of the Caldwell County Tigers and Lyon County Lions. And really appreciate our guests today for helping us out, and hopefully we'll have some more guests in the future and some more top 5 things, and just see where it takes us. That's right.
Well, that's going to wrap up this edition of the Sideline Report on a Thursday, 11 minutes past the hour of 10 o'clock. We certainly appreciate you joining us, and we hope that you will tune in next week as Todd will bring you another entertaining show. We don't know what it'll be yet, but we do guarantee you'll have lots of sports information and lots of good stuff on the Sideline Report. So thank you for joining us, everybody. Have a wonderful Thursday. For Todd Griffin and our guests, this is Ty Engelbright. We'll see you next week. Thanks for listening to the Sideline Report, brought to you by the Times leader, Todd Griffin, in studio to get us up to date on everything Caldwell County sports. So be sure to tune in at 9:03 every Thursday for the Sideline Report, brought to you by the Times leader, Todd Griffin, in studio with all the sports news that you need to know. Catch it on your hometown radio station, WPKY.